In two consecutive weekends of July 1952, the White House Capitol was buzzed by UFOs.
Right.
I actually found through an archivist, testimony from a guy named Al Chop, who was in the radar room the night that the pilot, one of the pilots in 1952, streaking across the night sky at over 500 miles an hour in the pitch black, and suddenly was surrounded by these UFOs. They were like, kind of could be described as Tic Tacs. They were small, circular, self-luminous objects that surrounded his plane. The testimony is phenomenal. They were given the authority, and we have the newspaper clippings to validate what I'm telling you. They were given the authority to shoot, and apparently they did shoot, and they attempted to shoot at these objects. We take a very hostile position, according to the witnesses that I've talked to, on unknowns. I mean, it is oversensitive airspace. I mean, the White House, the Capitol building, and it was 2 consecutive weekends. So there was this guy, president of the Rocket Society. His name is Robert Farnsworth, and he wrote a direct plea to, I guess it would have been then President Truman. And he said, it's really cool, "I respectfully suggest that no offensive action be taken against the objects reported as unidentified, which have been sighted over our nation. Should they be extraterrestrial in origin, such action might result in the gravest consequences, as well as possibly alienating us from beings of far superior powers. Friendly contact should be sought as long as possible." Anyway, it's just kind of a cool little, came right out of the Harry Truman Library.
Wow.
Yeah, I got it directly from the Harry Truman Library. And I thought that was neat. And what I wanted to share with you is this photograph. This photograph here. This is...
Up a little bit.
You got it?
Perfect.
This is Parviz Jafari. He was a general. And in 1976, he had an incredibly dramatic dog, what was it called? A dog fight, but he had an encounter with a UFO, him and several other pilots. And he tried to shoot it down. He got it in its sights, and he pulled the trigger to fire at this thing. And his entire cockpit froze, and he started falling out of the sky, and he said he was a second or two away from bailing. Thought he was done. And I interviewed him. We flew him out from Tehran to Washington, D.C. to testify at the National Press Club event that I made that film about, called I Know What I Saw. And on camera, all these years later, he's since deceased. He said, "Gosh, my biggest regret is, why did I try to shoot it? I should have tried to make friendly contact." I don't know, that really kind of left an indelible impression on me, hearing him say that. Like, why did we have to have an aggressive posture? Why didn't we try to make friendly contact? We're such an aggressive species.
Yes.
It's like, then you have to ask yourself, and it's all speculation, man. Nobody really knows, in my opinion, what's going on. But these objects chose a school to land in Africa. They chose a school to land in Australia. They chose a school to land in England. Is it a coincidence? Are the children they see as a benign presence that they'd rather try to make contact with? I'm just putting this out there. I don't know. But
that's interesting.
The military takes an aggressive posture. We shoot at these things. We have very credible reports of landings and contact at schools. I mean, with hundreds of witnesses on some occasions. So I don't know. It's just part of my personal journey. Sometimes I think, like, maybe if we weren't so aggressive and warlike, maybe they would make contact. I don't know. It's all, like I said, man, it's all speculation on my part. But you look at what the phenomenon does, and that tells you some things. But you also look at what the phenomenon doesn't do. All they have to do is hover over the Macy's Day Parade and it's game over. They don't do that. You know, you look at some of these abduction cases like Travis Walton, Fire in the Sky. I think it was 75, Snowflake, Arizona. And they got him. I'm convinced that he got in the way of the propulsion when he jumped out of the truck and was affected by it, the propulsion of the craft as it was spooling up and getting ready to take off. And they came back and got him. And when they 5 days later dropped him off, if they would have dropped him off in a location where he was captured or obtained, he would have died. It was the middle of nowhere. I've been there twice.
Really?
Yeah. They dropped him off. I actually have a photograph of the location if you want to see it.
Yeah.
They dropped him off at, see this one. They dropped him off on the outskirts of town that was just far enough away in a valley where they could swoop down quickly. This is a little prized possession I have. This was a drawing that, 10 or 12 years ago, Travis Walton, the key witness to the Fire in the Sky case, drew for me.
Oh, wow.
There's something about that. That's what the disc looked like.
And he signed it. That's amazing. Oh my God.
Yeah, look at that 10 years ago. So it's kind of glowing. And then this.
Oh, that's at the site.
Yeah, you got it. Cool. Yeah, that's at the site. And the weird thing was, to like proximity to where the object was seen hovering, they cut some of the immediate trees as samples to look at the growth rings. And there was a pattern of accelerated growth within a certain proximity of where that object was over like a 20-year period, whatever it was, since, or maybe it's 30 years since that sighting. But what I wanted to mention that I thought was rather interesting was so much of what these alleged beings did with Travis. It's a very credible case because there were so many eyewitnesses, 7 of them. They all passed polygraph. But when they dropped off Travis, they did it so right on the outskirts of town in a little valley, so they could like dip down quickly, deposit him right on the outskirts, and then shoot off, minimizing the likelihood of them being spotted. Why?
Right.
But they also cared about his well-being, because if they would have dropped him off where they picked him up, he wouldn't have made it.
Right.
And so that tells you something too, right? Excuse me. It's a fascinating. So, you have to look at like what UFOs do, and you also have to look at what UFOs don't do. I mean, they do some pretty provocative things, but they don't make overt contact on a mass scale.
Right.
Why?
Which is interesting. Very interesting. And the children aspect of it is even more fascinating. I mean, children, think about it. I mean, children they're the most open-minded. They're not set in their ways.
Totally. They're closer to the source than we are.
Yeah, they really are. They really are.